Welcome back. We are talking about the Brain Warrior's Way holiday guide to sanity. What are the things you can do to keep your mental health healthy during the holidays, which are filled with stress?
Yep.
Before we get there, first-time listener, Seth AC9, hopeful about the holidays. My wife has been following Daniel and Tana for a year or so as I have walked through issues with depression, anxiety, PTSD, etc. Listening to your podcast on a whim, I found myself encouraged. What I loved the most was the emphasis on gratitude and giving thanks. I've done this in the past and found it was monumental. 5 to 10 minutes a day of intentional thanksgiving. It's been a while since I've done it regularly. Knowing that it actually changes my brain chemistry, breathes life into my soul. I will begin doing this again daily.
I love that. Breathes life into my soul.
Seth
I like that.
AC9. Thank you so much. That is
Breathes
powerful
life into my soul.
for us.
It does. It actually does. We often say it's food for the soul. So it breathes life into my soul.
I love that. So, what about the holidays are stressful for you?
Number one thing, and you guys have heard me say this before, I hate shopping. I hate the mall more than I hate just about anything on the planet. Do it during the holidays, and that's like the mall on steroids. And the second you pull into the parking lot, what happens to me? I'm like, here! I'm just like, it's the worst thing ever. So the one thing that does help is online shopping. But before I had Chloe, my family had, as an adult, I mean, when I was a child, of course, we did gifts. But when I became an adult, it was my idea. I hate shopping. It's just, and the one thing that I always pinpointed as being stressful were gifts. Was going to the mall, buying gifts. So as soon as I became an adult in my early 20s, I was like, I came up with the idea. I'm like, can we just not do gifts? I don't want to do gifts. If there were little kids, that was fine, but there were no little kids in my family at the time. And we made the decision not to do gifts. And I then loved the holidays. Because for us, it's more of a religious holiday. It's a focus on gratitude. And so, but when you have kids, it becomes
when you
different.
have 60,
Until I married you.
70 people in your family.
So
it
when I married
becomes
Daniel
impossible.
and when I had Chloe, it changed, right? Because now I have a little one, and I married into this massive family. And I have to say that is fun. We go to your house, and there's usually 60 to 80 people there. So that's a whole different thing. But it's the gifts. It's the focus on, if I forget someone, it's taboo. If I don't do Christmas cards, I look bad. I'm like, what is that? That is just insanity. I've never been the whole perfect little, socialite wife.
Homemaker?
No. Never gonna be. It's just, no, it's irritating. I was born the wrong sex. I don't have enough.
Expectation that is actually so stressful.
Yes.
But it's mostly the expectation you put on yourself.
Yeah, but I have the right spouse because you don't put that expectation on me. And we agree on
And
that.
actually, if you saw our home, it's beautiful at Christmas because you take time to make it. For me, I mean, I'm here to help, but it's not.
Yeah, no, my space is important to me. My space, my nest is important to me. There are other things that are not important to me. The fact that I don't send you a Christmas card does not mean I love you less. It means that taking the time to do Christmas cards is irritating. That's all it means. I'd rather talk to you, have a cup of coffee with you. It's just whatever. I just see.
So let's help them with the holidays. So never forget the 18-40-60 rule. It says when you're 18, you worry about what everybody's thinking of you. When you're 40, you don't give a damn what anybody thinks about you. And when you're 60, you realize no one has been thinking about you.
And I'm 50, so I'm right at that.
All.
Yeah, and I'm at that middle point at 50.
And so if you're doing things because you don't want to disappoint people, they're probably only going to think about it for 10 seconds unless they have OCD.
And do you care?
And then if they're disappointed and it's really not about love for you and the emotional connection, then you just have to rethink that relationship.
Right.
And when I stopped caring about what other people think of me, and for
Oh.
me, it was survival, right? Doing what we do here at Amen Clinics, it's so different than what our colleagues do. And I've had people hate me for decades. And it's like perfectly okay with me.
Right.
It's like if you hate me, that's your business, because I love me. I think what we do is awesome. And
Same thing.
getting to that secure place where your opinion about you is the primary one, I think that's important.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I spent my 20s completely almost paralyzed by this worry about thinking, like, what other people think of me, or feeling like I had to be a certain way, do things perfectly. And somehow in my late 30s, well, I mean, it was intentional. I did a lot of growth in my late 30s, early 40s. It was just so freeing. I cannot tell you. It's like just releasing chains. So it's, yeah, going back to that, that's why I love, like, my 40s and going into 50 is just the best time of my life, because you just, all that emotional baggage.
But it took work.
It took work,
Right?
intentional
So
work.
those of you who are struggling, and people struggle more during the holidays, there is work to do.
And it's worth it.
In the Brain Warriors way, as we talk about, this idea of mastery, the first thing is you got to get your mind right. That don't believe every stupid thing you think. That it's a war, so you have to be armed, prepared, and aware. If you're really struggling, because depression is higher in winter months, starting in October, November, and then December. Could it be your vitamin D levels low because
Right.
you live in a place where there's not enough sun? Is your thyroid low? Lord knows you know the impact of abnormal thyroid. High can cause anxiety, low often causes depression, and sometimes it's just suboptimal. So it's within the normal range, but it's low normal, and you just sort of feel like a wet noodle. And
Same with female hormones.
so optimizing your hormones, absolutely critical. And then sustenance. So why do people feel bad during the holidays? Because they eat like crap. And so if you're eating a lot of sugar or foods that quickly turn to sugar, bread, pasta, potatoes, rice, sugar, they're pro-inflammatory, and we know that inflammation is associated with depression.
Yeah.
And also with cognitive impairment. So I do not eat badly during the holidays. Why? People go, oh, well, you're just a bummer. And I'm like, no, it's because I love myself.
Right. I don't want to feel
It's
like,
because I don't want
I
to
don't wanna
have
feel
to
that.
suffer in January.
Right.
And and we had mentioned this recently, that we're creatures of habit.
right.
And because of you and your 7 cookbooks now, because of you, I eat foods I love
Right. You don't feel like you're suffering.
that love me back. So there is no suffering. People go, oh, that's so boring. I'm like, no, being boring
No, we had
is having
brownies.
joint pain.
So we had brownies on Thanksgiving,
And they were really good.
but they were sugar free.
Yeah, because you know how to make them.
Right.
And you
They
have
didn't taste sugar free, but they were.
you have 25 dessert recipes.
Right.
And you just got to get your mind right. I do the right thing, not because I should do the right thing, but because it's about love.
Right.
That I love myself, I love my wife, I love my life, I love my mission, I love my children, I love my grandchildren. And quite frankly, I hate being in pain.
Me too.
I don't like shoulder pain. I don't like knee
And
pain.
I'm too scared
and
of
I
being
know
sick.
when I don't do the right things, that increases inflammation in my body, because I played football and I tore my right ACL. I
too,
know
my
when I
hands.
do the right thing. So those of you that go, well, that's boring. It's like, no, feeling well is never
No.
boring. Feeling pain is boring.
Well, and the idea of putting my family through more pain because I get sick or because something happens to me because I've been sick. I don't have great genetics. It just is the way it is. It is what it is. But I can control that one thing. And so the idea of me becoming sick and putting them through more pain is, it feels selfish to me. That just feels selfish to me. And so it doesn't feel right to me. They've been through enough, and I want to be healthy for them. I don't want to be a burden. And and it's not, this one last thing is, it's not about perfection. We know no one's perfect, okay? We're not perfect. It's not like we never have anything, but that is not where we live. Okay, so if we do have something, it's small amounts, it's very occasionally. It's not this whole like 1 day a week thing. That's just
Yeah,
dumb.
it's like 95.5.
95.5. And so if you have something, okay, don't make a big deal out of it, get back on track. If you're not doing it so much that you're staying addicted, right? So to have a few bites and move on.
And we've actually had some close friends die this year.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, as we get toward the end of the year, you think about the people you've lost. And I'm just always reminded of the story of one of my friends when we started the Daniel Plan at Saddleback Church. It was like 300 pounds and 5'10". And when his wife began to realize that his habits were going to take him away from her early, she got very upset with him. And she basically said, if you abandoned me because you didn't make good decisions, I'm not going to miss you. I'm going to be mad at you.
Right.
And so you just want to think, and I had a close friend this year who died of a heart attack, and he just wasn't as serious as he could have been. And that made me sad. So stay with us. We'll be back. Use the code podcast10 to get a 10% discount on a full evaluation at amenclinics.com or on our supplements at brainmdhealth.com. Thank you for listening to the Brain Warriors Way podcast. Go to iTunes and leave a review, and you'll automatically be entered into a drawing to get a free signed copy of the Brain Warriors Way and the Brain Warriors Way cookbook we give away every month.